Hi, I'm Robin Rundle Drake, and I'm creative director of Theatre Provocateur. I'm an actor in our upcoming production of A Few Prozaks Short of a Happy Meal.
And I'm Sean Quigley, and I'm the director of the show, and I'm also in the show as well as an actor.
Oh, well, I'm going to let Sean tell that story, because I started the theatre company a year and a half ago to do theatre involving social issues, and our idea for this play came from...
So last August, Robin and I had a chance to have a sit down and have a meeting, and in the course of that meeting, we were talking about creating a show that's around the issues around mental illness and mental health and mental wellness. And I have my whole background is in professional theater and professional film. So we used a process called vocal mask. And so what a vocal mask does is the actors, we had like 3 months of conversation. And out of those 3 months of conversation, the actors go away and they come back with what we call a bit. So what a bit is that they'll take an idea, expand it, write it out, come back in with it, and then we polish that until we've got a complete bit. And then what we do is we string all the bits together, and we have a complete show. And everything in the show is out of either our own lived experience around mental health issues and mental illness, or from those who contributed to the show.
Absolutely. We know that, and we will have an opportunity to do this at the CMHA's National Conference in the fall. And of course, those are people who know the issues, they live with them, and they understand the challenges. And so they've had chances to think about it. Putting it out to the public at an alternative theater venue gives us the chance to reach the general public and have people come and be moved in some way. We don't know what that's going to be, but it's a piece of theater, and I think people will be, it'll open their eyes and, hopefully their minds and hearts to looking at things in different ways, because some of the absurdities and the challenges, the pain, all of that's associated with, some kind of lived experience with a mental health issue, it's all there, and it's truthful.
Yeah, and it's not only, I just want to emphasize it's every part of a lived experience. So it's from the working side of mental illness, those who are professionals or in the field. It's from a parent's perspective. It's from a child's perspective, and it's really cheesy, and it's really touching, and it's everything in between. And so if you want to be able to get people to understand the unbelievable stats we have in this country, one of the worst countries in the Western world when it comes to mental illness, and how we deal with it, what that means in the terms of the lives of the people who are involved, then this is a really way to do it in a really wide public form.
And it's theater. Like, it's not preaching. It's not wagging a finger at people. It's engaging people and having, it be right there in front of them so that they can truly see, what that experience is like, whether it's about the system, working in the system, trying to get into the system, or, deal with the pain of a loss.
For me, it comes from personal experience. My daughter has a mental illness. I've spent the last, since she was born, advocating at everything from my school to the school board to the provincial government to the national level. And my daughter was one of the faces of mental illness, the first child face of mental illness in the country. That was part of that campaign. And so it affects our family's lives and her life every single day. So that's more than enough motivation to do this.
And for me, I guess, I've spent my life in mental health, mental illness, whatever you want to say about it. My dad worked in mental health, so when I was 4 years old, I was at what was called the OH at the time, with him, and I remember back then he had befriended a patient, and that man, Clarence, used to come home for our dinner periodically. He had nobody in his life, nobody, because people had walked away from him. So I think, that at an early time made me an advocate. And I also had a family member who suffered from schizophrenia and whose life ended directly as a result of that. And so for me, it's always been very close to my heart. I've worked in mental health all my life as a nurse, as an educator, as a patient advocate. And so my love of the arts and my desire to have social justice in this world, it was a collision point. And running into Sean at an educational event where I was presenting, it was like, there's something we have to do together, right? To appeal to people in a broader way, and to put the face of, people out there, because people that have mental health issues are no different than, your next door neighbor. And I think that's what's really significant for us, is for people to see that anything's possible.
Yeah, and there's something like 600,000 children and youth in Ontario that have a mental illness, right? And so if we expand that to the adult population, that whole 1 in 4 statistic, that's a huge number of people that are around us. So it's vital that we're taking this avenue to I kind of think of it like sticking my finger in a light socket, and the light socket being the public. I want them to be aware that I've just interrupted that flow. For me, since I have a very long career in theater, it's something like 25 years ago, and I've done that in a number of ways. I've created a professional college theater program. I've been an artistic director of 2 companies. I've done a whole lot of stuff. And the reason that I see art affecting change is because it's an opportunity for people, one, the actors, to play, because we go to the theater to see a play, and actors play. And that's a really basic thing that anybody watching gets. And when we watch kids play in the sandbox, there's that pure joy of that, and you tie that to a story, and there's an opportunity to open up eyes to any issue, or just any thought that that anyone from Shakespeare to Chekhov to us are writing about. And if you're going to try to do that in a meaningful way that isn't interrupted by 60 seconds worth of commercials every 8 minutes, then theater is the only way to do it.
And for me, 2 things. Just growing up and being exposed to theater, and being in the theater and being moved, and sometimes transformed by what I witnessed on the stage. And I've been involved in theater for 20 years. My boys kind of grew up at the theater school that Sean taught at, and he was a great mentor to them. And so what I've found is that doing theater, being an actor, being involved, changes you. So I think, it's just an inevitable piece of understanding yourself and the world around you in a better way, if you're willing to let yourself lean into that.
And I was just saying this to the actors yesterday. What I said is that after the rehearsal, our final dress rehearsal, I said, anytime you walk into the theater and you walk on the stage, the audience wants you to succeed. They never want you to fail. And so if the audience wants you to succeed, then there's an opportunity to affect a little bit of change, or maybe a lot.